on the question of access, maybe you can help us understand, with that outlay of the organizations that are involved in this sector, then where does the Kenya Power fit in, and what is the actual responsibility that Kenya Power has to the customers, knowing the entire outlay of institutions involved?
Thank you so much, Sam. I think let me really appreciate this opportunity where we can have this big conversation with the Kenyan public and also with the studio and the 4 studios that are set out today. It has really been our desire that we engage as much as possible, because in its role, which I'm going to state shortly, there is so much that the Kenyan public can work with us, can partner with us in overcoming a number of the challenges. I did listen to the various comments that come from the different parts of the country, and definitely there are issues in some areas. But I do know that as we engage, and this is really the path that Kenya Power is taking, to engage as much as possible, so that the Kenyan public has a lot of clarity in their minds. I do remember making a comment yesterday when I was engaging about COFEC and the scrap metal dealers. And one of the things that I did say, or I did state there, Sam, which I want to repeat it here, is that people can have very honest opinions about issues. And they can be very honest. But at times, their honest opinions may not be very accurate. Being honest at times does not insulate you from being wrong. But it is through such conversations that different players can actually realize that while I was honest, but I think I was honestly wrong in certain areas. Now, coming to the role of Kenya Power, you've delineated it quite well. There are those who generate power. Of course, you did mention about GDC prospecting. Once they have done it, the power will either be developed by KenGen or IPPs, where that power is generated. Once it is generated, it has to be transmitted. And the reason why we have transmission, Sam, and indeed the Kenyan public, is the simple reason that whenever you are moving power over long distances, the voltage that you use can really determine how much you lose. So it's always a requirement that after you have generated, you must take it to the highest voltage possible, so that you can minimize the losses that you are going to suffer as you move power from where it's generated to where it is consumed. Now, the role of transmission in Kenya is primarily KETRACO, but I would like to state that Kenya Power and Lighting does still have some transmission lines, so that when you look at the entire transmission line portfolio, 3,466 kilometers belong to Kenya Power, and 4,100 belong to KETRACO. So we both play in that particular space. Once we have taken power now to the load centers where they're required, the voltage level then will be brought down, will be stepped down. Mm-hmm. And that is when the distribution comes in, when the power is now taken to the different consumers, medium voltage, and then you go finally to that end user. So that is really where the role of Kenya Power comes in moving the power from where it has been stepped down to its own medium voltage substations, and finally to the consumer. But apart from that, Kenya Power also does what is called the dispatch function. Mm. The dispatch function is the one that is responsible for always estimating, or rather dispatching power to the grid. We do have different sources of power.